One of the most horrible events that took place in the last century is known as the Holocaust. There were around 5,860,000 Jews that were murdered within this period of time. But there were a few that still can tell us their story. Welcome to our podcast, Survivors of Time.
Here with you today, we are Valentina and Rachel. In today's episode, we are going to talk to a survivor of the World War II and a young woman that still believes in the neo-Nazi idealism. Welcome, Valeria.
Well, hello everyone. Thanks for the invitation and the opportunity to talk about one of the greatest periods of time. That if we would have continued developing, we would be one of the greatest and advanced civilizations of ideal human beings. Without all the garbage of Jews, of course.
Oh, you have some strong ideas. Tell us more. Where did you get this fanaticism from?
I don't consider it as a fanatism. I see it more as a philosophy of life that all the pure kind should follow. But answering your question, the interest in this new way of seeing life, I got it from a movie called The Greatest Führer. It basically showed all the teachings that Hitler considered that would make us evolve into superior beings. And I honestly found it quite interesting and amazing, especially the part about purifying our society by killing all the unworthy like the Jews and other traitors to blood and human race.
Okay, it's an interesting point of view. However, don't you consider that is a bit old-fashioned ideology?
Based on what I called my sources, better known as, of course, social media, my favorite one being Twitter, a lot of people still believe that this will help us to evolve, and by getting rid of those who only live to disturb us.
And besides talking about social platforms and leaving behind the idea of killing other people, have you ever read or informed yourself in historical valid sources that can help you look the situation from another point of view and understand the possible reason why was this ideology rejected?
First of all, it was a complete mistake to leave these beliefs behind. I honestly don't find it necessary to read articles or books written by ignorant people who can't understand what we can become if we just make the necessary effort to improve our world. It is a waste of time, and I will work hard to make everyone understand that this is the only way to have a better life.
Okay, thank you. Interesting ideas.
Now we invite you to hear the next interview. We welcome Ismail, a man who lived at 26-year-old the consequences of World War II, since he lived the Holocaust in his own flesh.
Hello, Ismail. Welcome to our program. We are so grateful you are in here with us today.
The pleasure is mine. Thanks for inviting me.
Tell us, Ismail, before the chaos, what did you do?
I had a normal life. I was well known in my sector because I worked every day in a bakery. I often went to the synagogue to pray, and I have many friends. Most of them were Jewish, but I also had friends who were not. I lived with my wife, and we had a very quiet life.
Okay, and what consequence did this experience have on your daily life?
One way I can reflect my trauma since I live in the camps is that nowadays I can accumulate food at home because in the concentration camps it was very dangerous to keep any food ration. If they found a piece of bread hiding during an inspection, you were punished with a beating or death. That's why today I only buy what I need for the same day.
Thank you, but have you managed to overcome these traumas? Do you think you have closed this stage of your life?
I think this should never be forgotten. We owe it to all these millions of people who died, among them my father and my mother. I wish that no one ever has to go through the same thing. The only cure is to talk about it and teach. History books are not enough. Our history must go by word of mouth.
Totally true. I agree with your thinking.
When the Holocaust ended, nobody knew what to do with us. Since I had no papers and I didn't want to go back to Germany, I made up that I was Italian. The Russians let us pass to the Allied side in exchange for food, and we traveled in an old Citroen without gasoline, pulled by a lame horse. When the Americans saw the people arriving in the car, they couldn't believe it. They put us on a truck bound for Paris and we stayed at the Lutetia Hotel. There, we gradually recovered from malnutrition and diseases, and we came back to life.
Were you always so open about this subject?
Not really. At the beginning, it was very difficult to talk about it. It brought back very strong memories of my life, but little by little, time helped me to heal this wound. I started talking about my experience with my granddaughter, and now she's the person with whom I can talk about this more openly.
Well, now that we have listened to all your stories, tell us what lessons you have learned from these situations and what advice can you give to the new generations to raise awareness so that situations of these types are not repeated.
Well, this is a difficult question. I went through such horrible moments that at one point I only saw it a time of hatred and fear. Every year that passes, it calms me down to talk about what happened. And I remember myself every day that if I tell my story, I can help people to remember because memory makes us sympathize with people. The events of the past should not be forgotten because despite being difficult, they help us to see life differently. Every day I feel grateful to be alive, to have been able to continue with my life, something that unfortunately many people who live the same situation that I do, they couldn't do. And remembering the Holocaust and teaching the new generations what happened is a way that these people who did not succeed do not forget and teach the young people of today that in reality we are all the same, that we should not make prejudices or hate people who do not have the same beliefs, appearance, sexuality, gender, and life that we do.
Thank you for being so kind and tell us your story. We are inspired by your courage and ability to tell us. Also, make us understand many things that perhaps our audience did not know. Really thank you. Let's give a round of applause for Ismael.
Now, Valeria, with this intervention made by Ismael and how heartbreaking his history is, you have something to tell us about?
I think I could have done a better research. Now, with everything spoken, I changed my point of view because I realized that my opinion and what I thought was not being taken into account from another and more critical point of view, and I did not have empathy with the people who suffered. I was not aware of the true terror that happened, and I apologize for my ignorance in front of this delicate subject.